Hey everyone, you've got Leos the Paladin here, and today we are looking at being a Holy Paladin in the raid healing in 11.1.0. So we're looking at the start of Season 2 in raid specifically. So if you're looking at how to climb up from your gray parsing to hopefully some blue or purple parses, I've got a little guide to help get you started. A little bit of background on myself: I've been playing Holy Paladin since the game came out in 2004. So I know there's other classes out there, but I really enjoy playing Holy Paladin. I play us when we're good, play them when we're bad. I just keep playing Holy Paladin. Now, why play Holy Paladin, you may ask? It's a really versatile class, so there are 3 different specs available if you ever get tired of healing. There's also DPS and tanking available, with a pretty easy transition, I would say, over to DPS. The rotation for Ret is really not that difficult, so it's a nice class that gives you a lot of different options. We are quite hard to kill. We do excel at single target healing right now, and we do have a lot of damage mitigation abilities and really decent survivability. So I like being a Holy Paladin. We're hard to kill. We do a lot of reduced damage for the raid, or help reduce the damage for the raid. So some of our abilities may not increase your healing directly, but they will help you reduce the damage that the raid's taking. And if the bosses are dying, that's really what we're looking for. So in order to effectively play a Paladin, you do need to know what abilities you have and to manage your cooldowns effectively, I guess just like any class. The best advice that I have is to always be using an ability. If you find yourself in a boss fight sitting around not casting anything, then that's probably a moment that you could improve what you're doing. So really important to always be using something. So first we will take a look at our raid spec. The loadout that I'm using right now is for Herald of the Sun, with a focus more on group healing, raid healing. So if you're looking at Mythic Pluses, you may look at loading your spec out a little bit differently. There are a few different options here. First one that I have is the Rebuke, the Interrupt. Not super helpful in most raid encounters, so that could be moved to somewhere else if you wanted to make your Blessing of Sacrifice trigger automatically, or if you want to increase the armor bonus of your Word of Glory by an extra 20%. Things like that may help a little bit just for some tank or some damage mitigation. But this is kind of an all-around rounded spec that I'm keeping for raid healing. You will notice that we do have the Holy Light hitting your 5 targets, Resplendent Light selected as one of our talents. An important one here also is Beacon of Virtue. If you're not familiar with using Beacon of Virtue and you're used to just using your regular Beacon of Light, that is a little bit of a getting used to ability. But it is, again, if you want to be up there on the meters, that's what you're going to have to select. I'm going to keep the load up here for your talents, so you can take a look at which ones I've selected as you build or copy my talent selection. But some key abilities that you want to make sure you're maximizing your usage on. First thing is going to be Holy Shock. If Holy Shock charges are available, make sure you're Holy Shocking people. It puts up extra charges on people, one of your main Holy Power generators, so you do want to make sure that you're always keeping your Holy Shock on cooldown. Same thing with Holy Prism. So Holy Prism is another thing that we've selected. I prefer selecting a hostile target, so if you shoot this onto a friendly target, it does damage to the hostile targets around it. If you shoot it at a hostile target, it does a little bit of damage to it, and it heals 5 allies around it. So I prefer using it more as a healing ability, and I like to pair it up with my Beacon of Virtue because their cooldowns are very similar. So if I can put my Beacon of Virtue out first and then use my Holy Prism, then it's just extra healing that's going on to my Beacon of Virtue targets. Next we have Divine Toll. So Divine Toll, again, it just casts Holy Shock on up to 5 targets within 30 seconds. There's a lot of abilities that we're picking which are going to double up on a lot of Holy Shocks that are happening, and especially when things start critting, it's just one way to give yourself a nice boost of healing. Now we do also have Eternal Flame. So this is going to be your main Holy Power user, either Eternal Flame or Light of Dawn. So Eternal Flame is going to be your single target large heal, and your Light of Dawn is going to be your AoE heal. So depending on what the raid's calling for, if there's a lot of people around you that are low on health or taking some kind of damage, then I would recommend using Light of Dawn. If there's not a lot of damage going on and it's just something like tank damage or single target, then that's where we'd be looking at Eternal Flame, or to top somebody up who's really low. So make the call which one's better, but those two are very interchangeable. You just don't want to be wasting Holy Power. So if you're getting enough Holy Power to use one of those abilities, you do kind of want to use it up because you don't want to keep Holy Shocking and end up wasting Holy Power. So make sure you're not wasting it. Use either Eternal Flame or Light of Dawn. Next, we have Blessing of Summer, Fall, Winter, Spring. So this is one of your bottom tier abilities for Paladin. It starts with Blessing of Summer. Again, this is something that you want to keep on cooldown constantly. So I normally start the fight putting it on somebody. And each one changes. So the Blessing of Summer, Blessing of Fall, Blessing of Winter, Blessing of Spring. The first one was going to be Blessing of Summer. It's going to bless an ally for 30 seconds, causing 12% of all healing to be converted into damage, and 12% of all damage to be converted into healing. So if you put it on someone who's pumping out a lot of damage, it's going to throw extra healing out. If you put it on someone who's doing a lot of healing, it's going to throw extra damage out. So a really fun target to put these on is like a DK. They do a good chunk of damage, and they also self-heal, especially a DK tank. Or put it on your highest damage or your highest healer, depending on what your fight needs more of. Now this damage is actually done by the person that you cast it on, but as far as any meters are concerned, it's going to count towards your damage total done on the fight. So it's really important just to keep these rolling. We have the Blessing of Winter, which is going to give you back some mana, or you can cast it on somebody else to give mana back if somebody else is low. We do have one that's going to increase the healing that you do or healing that you receive. So you can either put it on a tank, they're going to get more healing from everybody, or you can put it on yourself or another healer, and it's going to increase the amount of healing that healer does. I prefer putting it on myself and lining it up with some of my cooldowns in order to boost my healing. And then we do have one that's going to reduce your cooldowns by 20%. Again, use it on yourself to help lower your cooldowns, or use it on somebody else. There's a lot of different ways that can be better to do this. It depends on if you're looking at just boosting yourself, or if you're looking at boosting kind of the raid more overall. You may just need to adjust with what your raid needs, but I would say most important thing is to get used to using them on cooldown. So it's every 45 seconds they change, and as it's coming up to a change, make sure you're getting that next blessing out on somebody. And then your big healing cooldown we have is Avenging Wrath. So that's the one that we've selected here. It's going to increase your crit a lot and your healing a lot for the 20 seconds that it's up. So it's nice if you can line up your Avenging Wrath while there's some big raid damage happening. That's really going to help boost you up on the meters. That's one of your big Holy Paladin cooldowns is Avenging Wrath. So throw out as many Holy Shocks as you can, all the healing that you can while you've got Avenging Wrath up. Make sure that you're not sitting around doing nothing while you've got your Avenging Wrath up. Super big cooldown. Now we do have a lot of utility cooldowns. Divine Protection, that's one that you want to use on yourself. Like when people say personals, it's going to reduce the damage you take by 20% for 8 seconds. And it's only on a 40-second cooldown, 45-second cooldown. So make sure that you are rolling that on yourself to mitigate as much damage as you can personally. We do have Blessing of Sacrifice. This is something that you're going to put on a tank or someone who's taking damage. It's going to transfer 100% of the damage taken to you over 6 seconds. So be careful who you're putting it on, but it's a good tank cooldown or to help prevent somebody from dying if they're super low and you're not in danger yourself. Blessing of Sacrifice is a very strong Paladin cooldown. We do have Blessing of Protection, not used as much in raid, but it's going to make somebody immune to physical damage and effects for 10 seconds. It does cause forbearance as well, so if you put that on somebody, you won't be able to lay on hands, or if it's another Paladin, they won't be able to bubble themselves. So just be really mindful of who you're putting that on. We do have Aura Mastery. This is our big raid cooldown. When you've got Aura Mastery and you've got your Devotion Aura up, it's going to reduce the damage that the raid takes by 12% for 8 seconds. So that's a big damage reduction cooldown that would be called for as big raid damage is happening. So those are most of your abilities. I mean, we do have, of course, your Flash of Light and your Holy Light. Looking at which one you're going to use, Holy Light is really something that you're going to try to manage with your Infusion of Light. So you're going to get the Infusion of Light buff. It's going to cause your Holy Light is going to be increased by 45 seconds, or by 45%. So that's going to be the time where your Holy Light is the most useful for healing. So if you get used to what that icon looks like, Infusion of Light, that's when it's best to use your Holy Lights. Again, take a look at the raid damage. We do have the ability that's going to spread our healing to allies around our Holy Shock or our Holy Light target. It does use quite a bit of mana though, so make sure we're balancing this and not just spamming Holy Light. As much as possible, we're wanting to use our instacast abilities, so we're always looking for Holy Shock, Beacon of Virtue, Holy Prism, Eternal Flame, and Light of Dawn if we've got any kind of holy power that we're not spending. Now, a lot of paladins will enjoy being in melee range. I like to be wherever the most people are. So being in melee, especially if your raid is really heavy on melee, is going to have the most targets close to you. It is also going to give you the opportunity to use Crusader Strike as a holy power generator. So if your Holy Shock is on cooldown, or your Judgment is on cooldown, then you're going to want to make sure that you're using Crusader Strike to generate some holy power. But as far as the mastery for paladins go, which was one of our main stats, it's going to increase the amount of healing that you do based on your proximity to your targets. So the closer you are to the people you're healing, the more healing you will do. So if you're running around in melee range, then you're going to put a lot of extra healing on all the melee and the tanks. If there's a lot of range, then group up with the range group and do your healing to the range people. So really the biggest bang for your buck is when people are as grouped up as you can be. You're going to do more healing the closer you are to everyone. And we are always wanting to be casting. Now, another thing that you can do when you're looking to start up a fight, we do have the overflowing light debuff that's going to go up. So as you holy shock people, it's going to put a shield on them. So we can actually pre-shield before the fight starts. It doesn't last very long. It's only on there for 8 seconds. So I would say get a few casts in before the pull timer starts. And it can be up to 10% of your hit points. So I'm getting shields for, with no buffs right now, about 700,000. And I kind of wait until it almost expires before I recast, just so I've got as much of my holy shock charges available for when the fight starts. But this is one way that you can get a few extra 100,000 healing in at the start of the fight without really doing any work for it. So I like doing that. Again, up to you, but it's just an extra little boost. It gives your tank an extra hit that they can take at the start of a fight without really taking any damage for it. Alright, well those are the basics of Paladin healing. So again, you want to make sure that your main abilities are somewhere easily accessible. You don't want to be ideally clicking them off your bars. So see what your reach is for your hands, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you have to macro any buttons so that you're not having to click. As many buttons as you can get comfortable hitting so that they're instacast instead of you looking to click somewhere on your screen, the better. Clicking is really not ideal if you're looking to get in the blue or purple parses especially. So you do need to be able to react quickly. Now, I'm running this without any add-ons. I don't do any add-ons that help me heal at all. I do have some basic raid add-ons like your Deadly Boss mods and things like that, but I don't have any healing add-ons specifically. So if ever there's a patch, I don't have to worry about things breaking and then me being unable to play my class completely. Although I've been doing this for a really long time, so there are some helpful add-ons out there that may help you heal. Again, that's just not something that I'm using. So I've got all my abilities somewhere that I can easily use them without having to click them. That's going to be your most important thing. If you're having to look down at your bars and then look and click an ability, that's where you're going to lose a lot of your time. So especially your main instacasts, make sure they're, your 1, 2, 3, 4, somewhere that you can easily press your buttons and have your abilities cast, so you don't have to look at your bars and actually click any abilities. And if you've got any Paladin questions for me, feel free to ask, and I will do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. Alright, well that's all that I have for now, so I hope you guys found this helpful. If you did, please click that like button. I would appreciate it a lot, and we will see you for the next video. I hope you're doing better at the Paladin healing, and I hope I was able to help. Take care for now.